Hi, I'm Dana, and this is the first video in my 12 days of Christmas. Christmas. It looks better written down than when you say it, or I came up with it very quickly. It's what we're going with. I just thought it'd be really fun for like 12 days up until Christmas, just popping out a little video every day. Because I feel like I've got quite a lot to say about Christmas, and I want a space to do it, and I can create it myself, so here we are. So for this video, I thought we'd start at the beginning, which is my childhood Christmases. Christmas as an undiagnosed autistic kid. Christmas is one of my, up until recently, has been one of my favourite times of year. I didn't really enjoy it the last couple of years, and I'm not really looking forward to it this year. But as a kid, my mum really went out of her way to try and make every Christmas better than the last. And I think it's something I need to talk about in therapy, because I'm not sure if I actually loved it or if I was so set on making sure my mum's effort didn't go to waste that I just forced myself to love it. Because there was a lot of things I really disliked and really hated and really dreaded about Christmas as well growing up, and I think I might have just put on some rose tinted glasses as well as convincing myself I actually enjoyed more than I really did. And I think that's quite a common autistic experience, is when we're looking around and we're like, oh, everyone else is loving this, I'd better figure out how to fucking enjoy it. One of the things that my family did that I really liked was that we kept Christmas exactly the same every single year. My parents had developed just an extreme routine near enough for Christmas in our house, and I thrived from that. I really liked that I knew exactly what was going to be going on at Christmas. So the rundown was that we'd all wake up at various times in the morning and go into my parents' room, and they'd be like, it's 4 a.m, go back to bed. And at around 6, when my mum finally couldn't contain herself anymore, she'd be like, he's awake. And all of us would be like, we're awake. And then she'd make us wait at the top of the stairs, me and my 2 brothers, because she'd have to go and get the camera and go and start breakfast and put the oven on and do this and do that. And we'd be stood there forever just waiting for her to say that we could finally come down. Because we decorated for Christmas and made it all look really nice, but it was Christmas morning that suddenly all the presents were there and Santa had been, and it was all exciting and nice. And she'd film us most years after she got her like little video camera with those tiny little tapes in. She'd film us coming down the stairs and going into the living room, and the look of wonder and surprise on our faces. And it's one of those things that, like, I remember with fondness, but I also very much remember being stood at the top of the stairs being like, okay, gotta do it all now, gotta really put on my face and put on my smile and be so excited. You know, the excitement wasn't really all that genuine. I had to like really hype myself up to put it on. So we'd see all the presents, but we weren't allowed to open them after breakfast. So we'd all go into the kitchen / dining room that we had, and we'd sit around and have like a family breakfast. And that was part that my dad was really insistent on, because that was what his family had done in Denmark, even though they celebrated on the 24th. Which meant that from the Danish side of the family, we got to open some presents the day before, and I loved that. Getting an early little present. After we finished breakfast, it'd be the chaos of opening presents that most families have, except it wasn't, because we all took it in turns. And me, my mum and my oldest brother all like to save the wrapping paper, so like when it came to our turn, everyone would kind of like pay attention to something else, because we'd be like carefully taking the tape off and unwrapping it and then folding that and being like, oh, here's what my gift is. And my mum often filmed a lot of that as well, to be fair. And the older I got, the more they sort of expected me to react a certain way, especially once I got to my teen years. Like, my mum would be like, oh, you're going to scream, you're going to strangle us for this one, it's going to make you scream. And I've never screamed out of excitement. I don't think I ever will. I'm not that type of person. But I would squeal and I would hug them and I would like bounce up and down. It was completely fake. You know, like, regardless of how much I liked the present, it was completely fake, like my reaction to it. And it took out a lot of energy. It took so much energy. So once we'd opened presents, then it was just time to like look at what we got and hang out, essentially, while my mum made lunch / dinner. We ate like one huge meal mid-afternoon. And that was where I would sort of, the candle's gone out. But that was where I would sort of start to have my slump, and I'd be like, oh no, I have to spend time around my family and show how much I love all of my presents and make sure they all see that I love the presents they've gotten me, and I have to like keep an eye out to make sure they like their presents that I got them, which I've already stressed about and had a whole thing over. and I didn't enjoy it, and I would go and lock myself in the bathroom, and my whole family assumed that like I had a dodgy tummy around Christmas or whatever, but I just needed the space. Like, I was just sitting there and just hang out on my own, just to not be around people, because if I went to my room, my mum would be like, oh, don't be antisocial, come back down, you can't just spend Christmas Day in your room. So I'd go and just hide in the toilet, just hide in the bathroom, and yeah, I'd spend a couple of hours in there, come out and eat lunch. And then it was after we'd eaten lunch, come dinner, we were allowed to go off and do our own thing. And I would immediately go to my room and play with my presents. And that was why I actually enjoyed the things that I'd gotten, because I couldn't really play in front of other people. I really didn't like being like observed as a child, essentially. I still don't. I don't enjoy being observed or perceived. And as a kid, I really hated being like observed in any way. So as soon as I could go off with my stuff and play on my own, I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I've gotten such great stuff this Christmas. I'm so happy. But that joy in like, oh, this is cool, thank you, didn't register until I was getting to like process it and look at it all on my own. But the other thing with that, and the thing that we don't really talk about when it comes to Christmas, is that sometimes we don't get good presents. You know, it's really ungrateful and rude and whatever else, but sometimes a present just straight up isn't a good present. And I experienced that quite a lot growing up. And sometimes it was a case of my family not paying that much attention to me and not really knowing what I wanted. And other times it was very much my own fault, in that I spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into trying real hard to be someone that I wasn't, you know, especially in like say from the ages of like 8 to 20, but especially in my earlier childhood as well, because I remember like I genuinely loved Bratz dolls. Bratz dolls were my thing for a while, and I got a lot of Bratz dolls and loved them. But I remember one year I got like a big like cot for a baby doll, like a Disney princess pink like 4-poster mini bed thing for dolls, along with like a baby Annabelle and a bunch of other like baby doll accessories, and I just didn't care for it. I didn't, you know, I very much liked like my fashion dolls. I didn't really give a fuck for like baby dolls and a bottle and diapers and shit, but I had to, you know, I knew that other kids my age liked that stuff, so I would play with it around other kids my age to make it look like I was one of them and like I liked the same things. So obviously my parents had picked up on that and been like, oh, well, she'll love this. And I couldn't disappoint them. So I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And my mum, to this day, as far as I'm aware, still thinks it's one of the best things that she's ever bought me. And the reality is that I was like, oh, I don't really like this. I don't care about baby dolls, you know? There's also been a lot of presents relating to special interests, because that's a great thing to get an autistic person, whether you're diagnosed or not. And like I remember a couple of Christmases as a kid where I like exclusively got Doctor Who things and absolutely loved it. But as I got a bit older, I quite often started getting presents of like hyperfixations I'd moved past, or things that were just like a short brief hyperfixation, not necessarily like a full special interest. Or even like, I remember getting dinosaur stuff when I was maybe like 10 or 11 and being like, I loved dinosaurs like 4 years ago, you know, and I'd loved dinosaurs, but I was completely over it. I was completely past it. And it's one of those things we don't really talk about, because it's like rude and ungrateful and whatever to not think a gift is great. But it's honestly, in my experience, quite upsetting to get a present like that, where it's like, oh, you've nailed it 4 years ago, but you don't pay enough attention to me or know me well enough to know that I'm not into this thing anymore. You know, it's, for me, a lot of Christmases have been finding out that the people who are closest to me don't actually know me all that well. And like, I've realised now as an adult, a lot of it was also not realising that they were getting me things because I was putting out the message that it was something I would like through the mask that I put on for people, when it wasn't me, it wasn't true. And I gave them fully like the perception that it was, that I would enjoy this thing when actually I wouldn't. I think I got kind of lucky in that my family's quite separate from each other. We don't really, you know, I don't speak to any of my family anymore, but even as a kid, we didn't really talk much to extended family. So our Christmases were predominantly just the 5 of us, just like the familial unit that I was used to living with. But we did have one Christmas where my Aunt Sheila and Uncle Sid came to stay, and that was difficult for me, because I loved my Aunt Sheila and Uncle Sid. I absolutely adored them. I thought they were like by far the coolest members of our family, and I was super excited to have them come to us for Christmas because they didn't come to see us very often anyway, and I didn't often see them for like more than a day or two at a time, so I was just really excited. But that meant that I kept throwing up. I kept just vomiting. Like, I would drink water and just vomit it up, and my parents were like, are you unwell? Like, how are you feeling? And I was like, I feel fine. I feel like physically completely fine. I'm just really excited and a bit anxious that like it's going to be different to usual, but I'm fine. I just keep vomiting. And I couldn't have been more than maybe like 6 or 7 at this point, and my parents didn't think anything of that for some reason. But my Aunt Sheila and Uncle Sid came, and it was one of those where like everyone still is like, oh my god, that was the best Christmas ever, we loved having them over. And like, I really enjoyed having them there for sure. They're like they passed when I was quite young, and they're some of the last memories I have of them both, and some of my favourite memories too. Like, I had a really great time, they were really nice to me. But it also just, it changed the routine, and it made me feel really just out of place. And not in the way of like unloved by my family or anything, but just in like, this isn't Christmas, this isn't how it's supposed to be, this doesn't feel right. I love that they're here, but I also kind of want them to leave. Like, it just didn't feel the same, and I didn't process things the same, and I found it tough, even though I did enjoy it. But that's where I think that my undiagnosed autism essentially would have been a lot clearer if we did have a lot of extended family around us and things really drastically changed during Christmas. Because things just pretty much stayed the same for me, and then on one day we'd get a load of presents and then it'd go back to being the same, you know? It was all pretty chill and nice, and that definitely made it easier for me. And, you know, I don't think it's ever okay to like question and discuss random people's diagnoses and neurotypes and whatever else, but we all know that autism pretty much runs in families, and I think that was definitely a reason my parents chose to keep it very low-key and stress-free and quite routine and not with much changing. But yeah, my favourite parts of Christmas as a child and now was always like the cosy parts of it, you know? Like, I don't really care that much for the day apart from the dinner. I love a Christmas dinner. But for me, it's mostly the run-up. I love going to Christmas markets, I like doing my Christmas shopping, I like wrapping presents, I like, you know, like the cosy nights in where you've just got hot chocolate and cookies and a Christmas film. That's the shit that I really love about Christmas. I love Christmas films. The cheesier and shitter and weirder and more like rom-com, just pure shit, the better. I love them. The new one with Lindsay Lohan, love that shit. And, you know, like, I think that definitely stems from my childhood, because my parents quite often made a big thing of taking us out to see the lights getting turned on. We'd go to like, we lived in a really small village, and we'd go to like the closest largish town, and we'd get to see the lights put on. And honestly, I always just wanted one of those like spinny fan light up things, and my parents would never buy me one because we were broke. But I mostly just remember that from the turning the lights on. I never go to them turning the lights on now because it's always just too busy. I live in a city now. And I loved helping my dad choose a present for my mum, because I don't know, I think it kind of felt like I was getting to choose my mum a really good present, you know? Like, even though it wasn't from me, like, because my dad would buy, like, jewellery and whatever, and I'd get to be like, oh, well, this bracelet has this thing that mum likes, but mum also likes it when things do this. And I felt like I was getting to show how, like, I notice people, and I keep track of what people like, and I try to really consider the way that people feel when they open it, and, like, what will it mean to them, and will they feel, how will they feel? I overthought emotions and my actions far too much as a kid is what I'm thinking now, because I remember doing that myself as well. Like, it wasn't just to choose presents for my mum, because my mum would give us, like, me and my brothers so much money and be like, buy something for me and your dad. And I remember, like, just absolutely agonising over it and, like, imagining exactly, like, how their faces might look and what they'd think and how much, like, thought and effort came across in it. And I do the same for my brothers, and I think that's why it's always upset me so much when I don't get good presents. Because I'm very like, it doesn't need to be expensive. You can make me something. It can be like a shit little clay thing that you've made, and I will treasure that. Like, you made me a shit little clay thing, that's awesome. But spending a lot of money on something I don't care about doesn't impress me. It doesn't make me feel known. It doesn't make me feel seen. And that was the thing that really ruined Christmas a lot for me as a kid. Yeah, I just felt like a lot of pressure and expectation to be incredibly like in the spirit of the season and so excited and so happy and so grateful, and I really put a lot of effort into displaying all of that, and it was exhausting. And I think that's why the older I get, the more I'm just like, I might be a Grinch, y'all. I don't think I can be bothered with this shit anymore. You know, very few things make me happier than curling up to get cozy with my girlfriend and watch a Christmas film. Still love that shit. But like actual Christmas, I'm just like, ugh, it sort of just fills me with a feeling of dread at this point. But we're gonna get into that in another video because you've got 12 days of me. I've got a guest. I thought I was gonna have lots of guests for this little series. I've definitely got one. You might see more, I don't know. But yeah, that's the first video in the 12 days of Christmas, which still definitely looks better written down than it sounds aloud. So I'm gonna go now. But whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and Christmas. And I'll see you tomorrow.